It begins, first of all, by being aware of what happens before you even meet each other. And by that I mean the ideas and the assumptions that the people we work with have about us before they meet us. Because they see us as in the role of a particular kind of professional. Again, that as a profession we have participated in creating. They have ideas either from previous experiences with therapists or counselors or helpers. They have ideas from reading magazine articles or novels or TV shows as to what a therapist does and doesn't do. And so they come with these ideas about us. Another way of thinking about it is that you already have this more external public identity, this reputation of who you are and how you're going to perform your role before they ever meet you. Now, I want to underline the importance of this because they don't necessarily meet you as who you think you are or who you want to be. They meet you as a representative of a profession, as a representative of a role within a culture, a broader society. They meet you as a representative of the agency or organization or institution that you work for. So that's who they're meeting. So it's up to you to be able to introduce them to you in the way that you hope that they will be able to be in relationship with you and learn about you. So that begins by, last night you were talking, I used the word surprise. That begins by, if you want to say, surprising them. Or if you want to put it in more academic terms, you could say by behaving incongruently with their expectations. So, if you just think about it, how can you meet and greet someone that begins to let them know that you are a person and not in a role? And that has to do with many, many, many things. Not only your physical, touchable space in your office and how you arrange it, because you can have your office arranged in a way that is inviting or not inviting. You can work in very institutional settings and make your office more intimate, have a softer, more personal feel to it, and we would each do that in different ways. An example that I have is that I was once had a young man as on my training, and he always talked very positively about his work, and he liked all of his clients, and he seemed to be very successful. And I was very curious, and I said, well, if it's okay with you, and if it's okay with a couple of your clients, and if it's okay with the director of your agency, can I just come and hang out with you one day and just kind of listen and watch what you do? Well, the first thing that I noticed was that on the door, when you walked into this agency, I don't remember the words that it said, but I'll make them up. It was something like, "We care about you." You know, this was the first thing that the client saw when they walked into the office. So I walk in and I thought, oh, this is interesting. And the waiting room was kind of a usual institutionalized looking waiting room. And then he opens the door to his office and it's like full of frogs. You know what frogs are? These little things that hop around. I mean, there were little bitty tiny glass frogs and there were big stuffed frogs. There were all kinds of frogs everywhere. And his name was Victor. And I said, Victor, I'm sorry, but I can't do anything until you tell me about the story about these frogs. Well, he said it all started one day. He was working with a family with a little boy who was about 6. And the little boy wouldn't talk, and he was having all kinds of problems at home and all kinds of problems in school. And the parents couldn't get him to talk in therapy, and Victor couldn't get him to talk in therapy. And the mother in her story about saying something said something about this little boy and his frogs. So Victor began to ask the little boy about frogs and tell him that when he was a little boy, he liked frogs and he would put a frog on a string and let it hop around until his mother made him let it go. And this little boy started talking with him. Well, the next session, the mother brought him a frog. Not a real one, but a little frog. And he put it on his desk. Next client came in and said, "Oh, you've got a frog. Well, tell me about it." Well, when I was a little boy, I used to like frogs, so somebody gave me a frog. Next thing you know, everybody started giving him these frogs, so his office is full of all of these frogs. Well, it is definitely an engaging way to meet people, because it's something that it's a conversation starter. Whatever it is, some way to begin to relate to a person just like you would in everyday ordinary life. Like you walk in this room and you sit down at a table and there's someone next to you that you don't know. Or you go to a reception, or you go to a meeting at your child's school. How do you begin to meet and talk with people? We all do it differently, but we all have our ways of beginning to approach and talk to people. So that's what I'm talking about. It begins in these very, very small, subtle ways in which you greet someone. Even very simple things like, do you sit behind your desk, or do you have a conversational space?